This link is for 4th grade, going along with the story Amber, Nature's Time Capsule. If you go ahead and make sure your treasures text turn to page 720 and 701, this is where we're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and go over the vocabulary words that we're going to encounter in this unit. The first one that we have, fossil. A fossil is the remains of a plant or animal that lived long ago. We were excited to find a fossil of a seashell. Stumbled upon. When something is stumbled upon, it is found by accident. We stumbled upon the cave while riding our bikes. Paleontologist. A paleontologist studies fossils. A paleontologist may work at a natural history museum. And inspected. If something is inspected, it is looked at closely. I inspected all the eggs in the carton. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and direct our attention to page 700, the story. All right, see. It says Amber's Nature Time Capsule. About 30 million, this tiny scorpion found trouble. It got stuck in some sticky stuff called resin. Over millions of years, resin grew drier and harder, and finally it turned into a material called amber. The scorpion remained perfectly preserved golden prison. Amber is nature's time capsule. It forms a tight seal around whatever it is inside, protecting it from the effects of aging. Scientists have found insects preserved in amber that come from the time of the dinosaurs. Several years ago, a scientist discovered an important amber fossil. 3 tiny flowers that were 90 million. Found in New Jersey, they are the oldest flowers ever seen. Now, because amber is beautiful, value it for the reason for centuries, people had made amber. To the ancient Etruscans who lived in what amber was as precious, but not all amber is gold. Some are white, red, or green. Now let's go ahead and read the story Bambi. This big ball of dirt rolled over, and I saw black bones in it, recalls Wes Linster, describing his astonishing discovery in 1994 at age 14. Linster went on a ranch near Chateau, Montana, where he stumbled upon the new dinosaur species. His family nicknamed the three-foot-long fossil Bambi because it was so small. Now, the past fossil itself is the skeleton of a baby that 75 million years ago. It belongs to a dinosaur family that most scientists believe are the ancestors of birds. Now, paleontologist John Ostrom first inspected the bones in 1995. The skeleton is a jewel, he says. I think it's one of the most valuable scientific found in North America. Let's read that excerpt of Into the Dark Unknown. Louise Hose is a geologist and a speleologist, or caver. For the past few years, she has gone to Tapijolopa, Mexico, to map a cave. She and her family explorers found that it is full of animals that have adapted to life underground. Spiders and colorless fish and crabs in the cave stream. They also discovered something more amazing. Colonies of microscopic living creatures that can survive in extreme conditions. Even with poisonous air and no light, these creatures thrive underground. The living colonies drip down like a runny nose. They contain sulfuric acid, which can burn human skin. A photographer on the expedition named the slimy critters Snotties. Okay, now with that being said, let's just talk a little bit about a comprehension skill that we've already seen before, and that skill is called generalization. Now remember, a generalization is a broad statement or conclusion. So in nonfiction, you should look for statements in which the author makes a general point based on specific facts or evidence. You should then use the facts presented and use your own knowledge to decide whether the generalization is valid or faulty. Now, a valid generalization is supported by facts in the text. A generalization is faulty if evidence presented or the reader's prior knowledge does not support this information. To make a generalization about information in a piece of nonfiction, you should make sure all the facts support the broad statement that you wish to make. Okay? With that being said, let's go ahead and reread Amber, Nature's Time Capsule, and let's see if we can make a generalization. About 30 million years ago, this tiny scorpion found trouble. It got stuck in some sticky stuff called resin. Over millions of years, that resin grew drier and harder. Finally, it turned into a material called amber. The scorpion remained perfectly preserved in the golden prism. Amber is nature's time capsule. It forms a tight seal around whatever it is trapped inside, protecting it from the effects of aging. Scientists have found insects preserved in amber that come from the time of dinosaurs. Now, several years ago, a scientist discovered an important amber fossil, three tiny flowers that were 90 million years old. Found in New Jersey, they are the oldest whole flowers ever seen. Now, because amber is beautiful, people have valued it for other reasons than science. For centuries, people have made jewelry and sculptures from amber. To the ancient Etruscans, who lived in what is now Italy, amber was as precious as gold. But not all amber is golden. Some is white, red, or green. Now, with that being said, look back at that first paragraph. In the last sentence of the first paragraph, the author states that the scorpion is perfectly preserved in a golden prison. I can check the facts given and use my own knowledge to see if this generalization is valid. Now, the author says that the scorpion got stuck in the resin 30 million years ago. I remember that resin is the sticky sap I've seen coming oozing out of trees. So from the word prison, I can also draw the conclusion that the scorpion was completely covered in resin, and if I can still see the scorpion inside the amber from all this time, it has definitely been preserved. I guess the author's statement is valid. Now, as I continued to read, I then went ahead and I can also look for other generalizations. And with that being said, if you look at that second paragraph, another generalization that was stated by the author was that amber is is nature's time capsule. And we can say it's nature's time capsule because the author supports it by talking about how it made a tight seal around whatever is inside that piece of amber. Okay, so overall, generalizations are broad statements or conclusions. Okay, sometimes they're mentioned directly, sometimes they're mentioned indirectly. That means sometimes the author says it right out in the text, and sometimes they don't always make it right out in the text, but you can draw that conclusion there. But you have, whether it be the author's or your own, you still need to have facts from the text to support that. Now, with that being said, that goes ahead and concludes this link. But if you have further questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact me at the Learning Center, give me a call, email me, or visit me during my office hours.